you never were very, very pro-religious, or rather you were non-religious. Does it imply a completely commune agnostic approach?
You have not understood, let me say, what happened there.
It becomes evident that you have been fairly unbiased towards the prime ministers you could interface. Your reserved admiration for Modi ji.
That no admiration for Shri Narendra Modi.
It is assumed that Indira Gandhi would obviously become the next prime minister after Lal Bahadur Shastri ji.
Nehru wanted Indira Gandhi to succeed him, but that was not true. He never wanted her to succeed. During his lifetime, Indira Gandhi did not even become a member of parliament. But let me tell you, the opposition used to call her in the beginning, opposition used to call her Gungi Gudiya. It was, I have not said it. They called her Gungi Gudiya because she remained silent. She was afraid to speak in the parliament. Others used to speak and she used to remain silent.
नमस्कार, आदाब। तसव्वुर इजाफाए ज़माने का ख्याल इरादों का, कौल ढलेगा फैल में कैसे जो नहीं होगी एक आवाज़ बुलंद। तो ये शाहिद भाई आपके लिए आगाज़ है इसका। फ्रेंड्स, सामाइन, दोस्तों, it is a privilege for us to have Shahid Siddiqui Sahab as the inaugural guest for our show Vision and Voices. We have felt that every vision must be expressed and expressed again for it to bring effect. A vision needs a voice which, if emanating from a substantive vision, carries far enough to bring the desired change. Shahid Siddiqui's is one such vision, and I'm sure he is one such voice himself. He's a multifaceted entity with a rare zest for life and all its colors and all its goodness. Has been a journalist, a writer, an activist, and least of all, a politician, I dare say. An irony, therefore, that his major substratum has been politics, through the lens eye of which he has seen the emergence of contemporary India, virtually from its incubation as a republic 7 decades ago. It is from my personal acquaintance with Shahid Bhai that I know him to be a person of extraordinary traits, with wide-ranging interests and an ability to deliver in societal pursuits. Quite like a Gen Z enthusiast with the wisdom of a sage. Obviously the experience as well. His characteristic charm, forthrightness, candor make him the rare bird that he is. Welcome, Shahid Siddiqui Sahab, to the show.
Thank you very much, Javed Bhai.
So, Eyewitness. Now, today's subject is all about his book and about his political life. Eyewitness, matlab मैं Shahid. Now, this is the book that he has written with such dexterity that it combines elements of biography, memoirs, narration of history, and even political analysis, all rolled in one. His journey, spanning the transformation of the Indian polity over 60 years, we see through his anecdotal account right through across the book. The way India moved from regime to regime in mildly varying ideological hues. It hasn't changed very much since then, I would say. His experience with politicians of wide spectrum give the reader a flavor of the real politic and expediency that underlines the heterogeneous mosaic that Rajniti in India is. He places his anecdotes like connecting beads in that chronological system. He has interviewed almost all the prime ministers from Indira Gandhi to Narendra Modi ji. For those who may not understand the complexities, maneuverings and underbelly of the great Indian political matrix, Shahid Siddiqui's Eyewitness is a ready reckoner and in fact reads like a political thriller.
Yeah, it does.
Having been in the thick of it all, he himself couldn't get the de jure, the real prominence that he deserved, all because the ideals that statedly drove him were truth, justice, a relentless pursuit of a more fulfilling and consummate society that all of us should aspirationally share with him indeed. शाहिद भाई मेरे तो बहुत सीनियर हैं, लेकिन मैंने काफ़ी वो ज़माना देखा है जिसका तस्करा इन्होंने अपनी किताब में किया है. Many of the characters of his historical narrative, I have known some of them, a few of them I have known very well, and I know how accurate Shahid Saab is in describing them, in analyzing them, how accurate his reading is. So, Shahid bhai, now we would like you to let the aghaaz be Maulana, the late Maulana Abdul Wahid Siddiqui Sahib, your father. Let the ibtada be the nascent setting of our nation, Hindustan, India, Bharat. Now, Maulana Sahab chose to reject Western culture. He chose not to go to Pakistan. He chose nationalism over religion and journalism over politics. Shahid bhai, tell us the impact your late father has had on you to begin with.
A tremendous impact, because I used to call him Abba Mia, and he was one man who came from a very well-to-do feudal family, but he rejected his family because he believed that he was against the British Raj. He was sent to England to study. He jumped the ship and did not go to England and could not go back home, and therefore went to Darul Deoband Madrasa. But there also he was a rebel who organized the first student union in the Darul Deoband, brought out the first newspaper from there, organized the first student strike in Deoband in 1918-19. So more than 100 years back, when people had no idea of a student strike at that time. So, and then he worked in support of Raja Mahendra Pratap when the first government in exile was formed in Afghanistan. And he wrote against British, he fought against British, went to jail against the British, and he was extremely anti-Jinnah and idea of Pakistan. He did not believe in two-nation theory. He believed that India is one nation, we may have different religions, but to say that we are two nations is an insult to the very idea of nationhood, very idea of Islam. And therefore, he went to Lahore. He was editing a paper from Lahore against Muslim League, a paper for the Congress party at that time for the views of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Azad. But when he realized that partition is inevitable, so at end of 1946, he migrated from Lahore to Delhi. At a time when Muslims who were moving from Delhi and Lucknow and other places to Lahore and Karachi, he moved back because he wanted to live in Nehru's secular India and not Jinnah's so-called Islamic Pakistan. And therefore, he had a tremendous influence on me, and he sacrificed everything in his life for the ideals he held. Tandon became the president of the Congress party. My father said, now Congress has become Hindu Mahasabha, and resigned. Along with Rafi Ahmed Kidwai, Ashok and many other leaders, Ajit Prasad Jain and others, they resigned. The socialist bloc, they resigned. And my father did not join Congress, although he had worked all his life in the Congress for the freedom of the country. But when the time came for enjoying the fruits of power, he moved away from the party and started attacking the Congress party and the mistakes which it was making from that time onwards, and a great struggle with Govind Vallabh Pant, who was the Home Minister at that time. So he had a great influence on me. And lastly, because there's so much to say, but lastly I'll say, at the age of 80, when emergency was declared, he was the first editor to be arrested. In fact, he was the only editor who went to prison thrice during the emergency at the age of 80, writing against the Indira Gandhi government, although he regarded Indira Gandhi as his daughter. And after emergency was over, he embraced her And so that is the kind of people they were, and he was just not a father to me, he was a guru to me. And whenever I was tempted by any favors or anything in politics or otherwise, I remembered my father and his sacrifices, and I said it's not worth it, and I refused to be tempted.
Khair, now you began with communist or left socialistic leanings. Later हम आपकी किताब में पढ़ते हैं, we see the gathering of intellectuals and leftists in the Nai Dunya office, earlier the Delhi office in Balli Maran. Balli Maran being the crucible of the old Delhi culture, classically identified with Ghalib. So on the terrace you write that there used to be this whole cultural amalgam and cocktail of people such as the likes of M.F. Hussain, Jigar Muradabadi, Gulzar, Habib Tanveer and all of those. I mean, these were people we only heard of those days. And inse aapko kafi, matlab you came in their influence a lot. So perhaps is this the reason that you never, despite your initial roots, you never were very, very pro-religious, or rather you were non-religious mostly. Does it imply a completely commune agnostic approach?
No, not really, because you have not understood, let me say, what happened there. My paper, it was a daily paper, evening paper. So copies used to go to the press by 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon. After that, for the evening, the whole office with about 5-6 large rooms, a terrace which could hold about 50 charpais, palang, it was available to the cultural, social, religious groups of Delhi. And they did not have any place, or at that time there were no clubs, there were no places where, and it was immediately after partition. So they used to gather in the Nai Dunya office, and I had 3 elder brothers, each one of them had their own, style of working. Then my father supported a young leader, Sarla Sharma, who was a communist, and to win the election from Balli Maran, and as a result Aruna Asif Ali, who was the doyen of 42 movement, great leader, she used to come to my office with her whole group of people, and they used to organize these women's cultural programs, women's organizations in Mohalla of Isamuddin and Kali Qasim Jan and Balli Maran, where all these Parda Nashin Aurtein, they used to gather and hold their theatre, drama, workshops, नुमाइश लगाती थी, exhibitions of whatever they produce. And at the same time, in Nai Dunya office, in one room you have Maulvis discussing about Islam, Sharia, things like that. So I was hearing all that. And from my childhood, all the great ulama of Deoband and other areas, they were all friends of my father, because my father spent all his life in Darul Deoband. So I was extremely influenced by Islam and Islamic thought and the real Islam, the fundamentals, not just hearing something from the mullah, but from the ulama who knew. Maulana Qari Tayyab Sahab, Maulana Hussain Ahmad Madni, great scholars, they all used to gather in my father's room all the time. We used to have this. We had a huge angan, in that angan there दरियाँ बिछा के, सफ़ेद चांदनी बिछा के, जो क्लासिक मुशायरा होता है, जो लाल किले टाइप मुशायरा होता है, where only the शायर recite and शायर listen. पब्लिक नहीं होती, भीड़ भाड़ वाला आज के जैसा मुशायरा नहीं कि जिसमें तालियां पीट रही हों. वहाँ all the poets who used to gather. So all the poets, Zubair Rizvi, Salam Machli Shairi, Mani Jaisi, and whenever when Josh was here, Josh Malihabadi, he used to come. Faiz Saab, in my childhood I met Faiz Saab and took his autograph, and I didn't know what is the importance of Faiz Ahmad Faiz, but then later on I realized what a great opportunity I had. So they used to have this mushaira every Saturday in the evening, and so in that milieu I grew up. I imbibed all that cultural, social, and the contradictory philosophies, ideas, and from the best, some of the best. Gulzar's first, collection of poems was published by my brother who was a publisher. So Gulzar, as a young man, Puran Singh, he used to come to our house. M.F. Hussain, he used to come, there was a hotel called Bismillah Hotel in Balli Maran. So he used to come and sit here and then come to our office also and sit there. At that time he used to wear shoes. He had a black beard, and sitting there on the editor's tables, there were a lot of tables, he used to draw things and give to us. And we used to just, look at them and turn them into an aeroplane and throw them without realizing the value of it later on. So I was so fortunate to grow up in this environment. And let me also tell you, in my childhood, I was so lucky that whenever I remember Khrushchev, he threw a garland at me. When Khrushchev came to India, we went to receive him in Connaught Place, and hundreds of people, and I was sitting on the shoulders of my elder brother as a young boy of 4-5, and I shouted loudly, "Nikita Khrushchev!" And he just turned at me in an open car. Slow car was moving in the circle of Connaught Place. He threw a garland at me, and that made news. That was my first political, experience. And then Eisenhower came. I remember that Jamal Abdul Nasir came, and we went with hoardings and pictures of Jamal Abdul Nasir to receive him. When Chou En-lai came, I went with my sisters to Imperial Hotel, and there we had organized a welcome dance and poems for Chou En-lai. So that is the kind of milieu which is rare for anybody, from culture, poetry and Sher-o-Shairi to Nikita Khrushchev to Eisenhower to Jamal Abdul Nasir. I mean, what else do you want in life? I'm so lucky and so fortunate. God has given me so much.
Wonderful, Shahid Bhai. This is really, it's a very, very multicolored palette. Yes. And in fact,
so don't put me in a bracket.
No, I'm sorry. I detract from putting you. I didn't. My idea was not to put you in a bracket. Yeah. My idea was to point out the whole cultural. I use the word cultural amalgam.
Yes.
So cultural potpourri.
Yes.
In fact,
potpourri.
Now that you have elaborated,
yes.
अब मैं बेहतर समझ पा रहा हूँ कि वाकई ये कितना मतलब ये है कि लजीज एटमॉस्फेयर होगा वहाँ पर.
जी.
Poetically so rich, and yes. I'm using the word poetic with poetic license.
Yes, poetic license.
Because there's elements of every thought there.
Absolutely.
So really wonderful. Now we know where so much of beauty comes in from. So if now getting to the next issue, if one takes a macro view of your book, it becomes evident that you have been fairly unbiased. Towards the prime ministers you could interface through, the time that you talk about. I broadly see, I may be wrong, आप मुझे correct कर दीजिएगा, लेकिन I see 4 brackets in which you have buckets in which you have put prime ministers. One bucket is Rajiv Gandhi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Then the second is Indira Gandhi and Narendra Modi. Third is VP Singh and Narasimha Rao. And fourth is all others. I clearly see your affection for Rajiv.
Yes, of course.
Your admiration for Vajpayee.
Yes.
Your reserved opinion of Indira ji.
Yes.
Your reserved admiration for Modi ji.
Yes.
And of course contempt for quite a few. It is clear that your yardstick has not been ideology or some narrow prejudice of the day. You have been pragmatic and fairly objective in your assessment. I must mention your comment here on Rahul Gandhi and Modi ji about both of them betraying their social class.
Yes.
Now, obviously, Rahul Gandhi, who comes from a very, very elite and protected background, has been able to touch the masses one-to-one physically.
Absolutely.
So he's broken out of the shackles of his class.
Yes.
Now, there is Narendra Modi ji, who comes from a plebeian strata of society, but has got trapped in the trappings of the Prime Minister and can only associate with the elite. Maybe because of the majburis of his office. Maybe it's not the way he intends it to be. But this is what I observed. I agree
with you. You have very well described my biases and my likings and dislikes, but only with slight, amendment, that no admiration for Shri Narendra Modi, but appreciation. there's a difference between appreciation and admiration.
I stand
I
corrected.
did not admire, I appreciated his ability to exploit the social media, to exploit the sentiments of the people on such a huge scale consistently for 15 years. That is something very, very rare in any leader. So far as I'm concerned, I try to be objective, but I'm hardly ever neutral. I have my biases, and everyone has a bias. Those who say we are not biased, they are lying. Some have very obvious biases, some have very subconscious biases, but biases are there. But I always, even when I was in a political party, when I was a general secretary of Samajwadi Party, when I was writing in Nayi Duniya, I tried to be objective towards Mulayam Singh Yadav, about his faults, his mistakes, and that was my undoing many a times. Same with here. I may have my likings or dislike for Atalji or his politics or the Sangh or anything, but when I'm writing about him, it's my duty as a writer, my responsibility to the generations and to the future, that I should write honestly. And that honesty demands that everybody has some qualities, and they do not become the prime ministers. They do not reach there just because of their faults or because somebody has pushed them over there. They have to have lots of qualities and capabilities, and those have to be understood and appreciated and registered. So that's what I've tried to do. Especially, of course, Rajiv Gandhi was close to my heart. Although I opposed Rajiv Gandhi, I went to jail when he was the Prime Minister. I was arrested under Tada, but it was Mr. Arun Nehru who put me behind bars. And it was because I went to jail, I came close to Rajiv Gandhi. I went to jail, and within 15 days he was thrown out of the cabinet. And I came out of jail after nearly less than a month. And Rajiv Gandhi said, "Look, I want to meet this man who fought Arun Nehru." Because by that time, Arun Nehru and Rajiv were at loggerheads. And he called me, and I went to see him, and we became good friends. But I went on writing against him. I remember I met him in end of 86, but then 87 was the Meerut Maliana Hashimpura riot. I attacked him right, left and the center. I met him and I told him that you must go immediately to Meerut if you have any faith in Indian democracy or secularism. And he went the next day. And he was impressed by the fact that I did not give a damn about his being the Prime Minister. I honestly, openly said what I said was right. I was not saying it just because I wanted to prove that I am a great, Mujahid who's attacking the Prime Minister. No, I never attacked any Prime Minister for the sake of it. I did it when I found something wrong in that. And after that, when I wrote against him when Bhagalpur riot took place, when Shilanyas took place, I attacked him right, left, center very strongly. And then when he lost power, he said, "Shahid, please help me." I said, "The only way I can help you is by telling you the truth. And you are not used to hearing the truth. You are used to hearing all the psychoffensive, and the sycophants first find out what you want to hear and then they come and tell you. So that is how you are always misled. You don't know the ground realities. So you don't want to face the truth." He said, "No, I need a person like you who will tell me the truth." And that's how we started working closely. I started traveling with him everywhere. He used to, fly his plane, and I used to be with him all the time in his small Air King plane, and that's how we became close. And that's where, I became very close to him. And the reason I have this feeling for him was because we dreamt a lot together what we will do once he comes back to power. And I was, the whole 91 election, I was preparing everything for him. I was planning his speeches. I was planning everything for him. And he thought that, he told me just a week before his death that, "Shahid, I don't want to hear anything. We are forming the government and you are going to win the government, and therefore resign from your paper." I said, "You are not forming the government. You are not getting 200 seats. He said, "Why you are always negative? We are getting 300 plus seats." I said, "No." And exactly, despite his killing, such horrible killing, Congress only got 240 seats. So I was right in a way that, but that was the most unfortunate incident of my life. I'm not pro Rajiv, but I'm angry with the media and with the intellectuals and others for targeting Rajiv Gandhi in a very, very negative way. Because to hold Rajiv Gandhi responsible for 84 riots is, I think, totally wrong. And therefore, it is my duty to the nation and to the people of this country to put things in right perspective. And the perspective is that when Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated, Rajiv was in Calcutta. Rajiv, as soon as he heard the news, he was under shock. He flew to Delhi. He came to Delhi. He went to his mother and to his wife Sonia Gandhi, in whose lap Mrs. Gandhi died. मिसेस गांधी का खून बह रहा था सोनिया की गोद में, और सोनिया का उस दिन सही मानों में खून का रिश्ता हिंदुस्तान के साथ हो गया था, जब इंदिरा गांधी का खून जो है वो अपने हाथ से साफ कर रही थी और उनकी बॉडी को लेके वो भागी थी मेडिकल इंस्टीट्यूट. वो खून का रिश्ता मैं समझता हूँ उससे बड़ा कोई रिश्ता नहीं हो सकता. जो द रिलेशन सोनिया गांधी डेवलप्ड एट दैट मोमेंट व्हेन शी कैरिड ब्लडिड इंदिरा गांधी इन हर लैप.
वंडरफुल. शाहिद साहब, ये आपने जो इस किस्म के किस्से और एनेक्डोट्स जो अपनी किताब में आप लेके आए हैं, ये वाकई बड़े, these are exposes.
Yes.
And there are a lot of people in the current generation who do not know the real story.
Right.
Nobody knows the first 2 to 3 days of Rajiv Gandhi's taking over as the Prime Minister. He was in a state of, not being there.
Shock, absolute shock.
A state of shock. And there were all the other people who were responsible for keeping peace and calm, which unfortunately, as you say, they failed to do so. So these are things that emerge very clearly in your book,
Right.
which is why I also call it the political thriller, but based on facts.
Yes.
So now, getting back to yet another Nehru-Gandhi issue, which is, we have seen the whole nation talk about the dynastic tendency of the Nehru-Gandhi family. It is assumed that Indira Gandhi would obviously become the next Prime Minister after Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, because she was Nehru's daughter. However, in your book we read that it was all orchestrated. It was the late Kamraj and Shastri ji himself who actually maneuvered to bring her into the cabinet and persuaded her. And she was not even competent to be a leader. I think you have a whole chapter called Gungi Gudiya.
Gungi Gudiya.
And from Gungi Gudiya to Ma Kali. So, it's very well brought out. अब इसके बारे में आपकी क्या टिप्पणी है?
This is assumption people of this generation have, that Nehru wanted Indira Gandhi to succeed him, but that was not true. He never wanted her to succeed. During his lifetime, Indira Gandhi did not even become a member of parliament. When the daughter of Sardar Patel was made a member of parliament, others were made members of parliament, but Nehru's daughter never became a member of parliament. And Indira Gandhi was only looking, because Jawaharlal Nehru had no other family. His wife had died long time back. So a Prime Minister needs somebody to take care of home, of his clothes, of his travels, because he doesn't have the time to look after himself. Somebody has to look after, and somebody from the family has to do it. And therefore Indira Gandhi, the daughter, was looking after the Prime Minister as a daughter and not as a political leader. So he never expected her to take over. But when Shastri ji became the Prime Minister, Shastri ji thought that, and Kamraj and others, Nijlingappa and other leaders, S.K. Patil, all these regional leaders of the Congress party, who were very powerful. It was called syndicate. And this syndicate, in fact, they brought Shastri ji as the Prime Minister, who was from UP, so they wanted a leader from UP, so he was made the Prime Minister. But Shastri ji thought that he doesn't have enough legitimacy. So in order to have legitimacy, he must have somebody from Nehru's family in the cabinet. And Indira Gandhi, to my knowledge, said that she doesn't want to be in the cabinet, and she wants to look after her children and do some writings also, because of her looking after her father, she had to neglect her children Sanjay and Rajiv. So she wanted to devote herself to her children and their education. But they persuaded her to be Information Broadcasting Minister. So she became Information Broadcasting Minister. But sudden death of Shastri ji in Tashkent again opened a new chapter. And Morarji Bhai wanted to become the Prime Minister. And the other group, which is the syndicate with Kamraj leading it, they thought Morarji will not be the right person. Morarji was heading the rightist group, the group which was against socialists, against the left and secular leaders of the party, progressive in the Congress. And these leaders, they joined hands that they needed somebody to stand up to, whom they could put forward as a face to Morarji Bhai. And therefore, they all decided that Indira Gandhi should be brought forward. And they convinced her that she should be, and the election was held, and Indira Gandhi won the party election, and she became the parliamentary party. She became the Prime Minister at that time. But she was like a, stooge of the syndicate. Syndicate thought, ये तो हम जैसा चाहेंगे इनको चलाएंगे और इनको आगे रखेंगे. She was just a makhota. She was a face for this, because none of these leaders like a Kamraj or Nijlingappa or Atulya Ghosh, they had enough command, in national command all over India, and they needed somebody who would be a good face. So they thought they will control and Indira Gandhi will be there.
So नहीं, ये बहुत बाखूब आपने ये चीज़ लेके आए हैं अपनी किताब में. पहले गूंगी गुड़िया और फिर दुर्गा माँ जो 71 वॉर में, हाँ, फिर उसके बाद माँ काली इमरजेंसी में.
3 फेज हैं मिसेस गांधी के.
3 फेज. आप you have very nicely brought them out. Now normally a reading of history books does not so dramatically portray these events and portray the cause and effect. So a lot is left to people's imagination, but this has been so well
and let me tell you,
portrayed.
Let me tell you, the opposition used to call her in the beginning. Opposition used to call her Gungi Gudiya. It was I have not said it. Yes. They called her Gungi Gudiya because she remained silent. She was afraid to speak in the parliament. Others used to speak and she used to remain silent.
So आपने now moving on as we move on in the book.
Yes.
You have written that, of course you've written this much earlier in the book, but I bring it up now. You have written that by religion you are a Muslim.
Yes.
By culture a Hindu. Indian by conviction and with a global outlook.
Yes.
Frankly, I myself share this aspirational identification with you. Now, why do I call it aspirational? I, like you, have also witnessed the best and worst of Hindu-Muslim relationship phases in my own life.
Yes.
But only in my wishful imagination, I see the twain, living peacefully and happily ever after. It somehow remains a chimera. We keep trying, we keep thinking, all the right noises are made, but the culmination of action, actually, something else happens. Aapka kya khayal hai?
No. There is a lovely love-hate relationship between Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs and Christians in this country. And let me point out something very important, which others don't bring out. As a political scientist, not as a journalist, not as a politician, because I am also a political scientist.
Yes, you've been a professor.
Professor of political science. India is a strange country. India is a country of minorities. In India, nobody is a majority. You have a Bengali minority, a Tamil minority, a Yadav minority, a Brahman minority, a Gujarati minority. You have linguistic minorities, you have caste minorities, you have religious minorities. So India is a very different kind of experiment. And this experiment, I salute Dr. Ambedkar, Maulana Azad, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Patel for giving this very, very strange experiment in democracy, in nation building. So people try to judge India from the parameters of European nationalism. They try to judge Indian democracy from the European. India is a very different nation. So we must understand that India is still a nation in the making. And in the nation in the making, we are gradually evolving into a beautiful nation. And when you are evolving, when you are making, there are contradictions, there are frictions, there are problems. But in a life of a nation, 100 years are a moment.
Absolutely
So,
right.
because we are living 70, 80 years of our life, we think, oh yaar, ये तो हमेशा बर्बादी रहेगी, कभी होगा नहीं. This is not wishful thinking. My thinking is, India is Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, they are all going to live very, very, we are going to forget all about our religious differences, caste differences, and evolve into a wonderful cultural, qaso qaza. You know what is qaso qaza?
Qaza, yes.
The yes.
The integrated
जो सात रंग होते हैं.
integrated
Yes,
force
yes.
of the year.
So that is what we are all, and therefore we should not worry. Now, first thing, let me come back to your first point, that why do I call myself by faith? I am Muslim. I'm born in a Muslim family, in a very Islamic cultured family. So I am a Muslim by faith, no doubt about that. But I am Hindu by my culture. By Hindu here, I don't mean the Hindu of RSS or Vishwa Hindu Parishad. By Hindu, I mean of Allama Iqbal. Allama Iqbal said, Hindi है हम वतन है, हिंदुस्तान हमारा. कौन है हम? हिंदी है. हिंदी हिंदू. और हमारा वतन क्या है?
Hindustan.
हिंदू स्थान. किसका स्थान?
Hindu.
हिंदू का स्थान. Who was a Hindu? Hindu was anybody who lived on this side of Sindh. So that is what one culture. You see, our culture is common. Whether even those in Pakistan, they are not another nation, we are one nation. हमारा खाना एक है. Those who live in Bengal, they speak Bengali. Muslims or Hindus or anybody, they speak the same, have the same cuisine. Those in Kerala, they have the same kind of food. केरला का जो खाना है मुसलमान का, वो बंगाल का खाना नहीं है, वो यूपी वाले का खाना नहीं है. मैं जब मेरा वतन खतरे में है, when it's a question of my nation, I am an Indian. When it's a question of my faith, I am a Muslim. So therefore, don't ask me this question. This is absolutely silly question, and those only fools will ask you whether you are a Muslim first, or a Hindu first, or a Sikh first, or a Bengali first, or anything first. Nobody, nothing. There is no comparison. There is no first or second.
Absolutely.
All your personalities are within you. आप बांट नहीं सकते कि ये काटा हिंदू हो गया, ये काटा इंडियन हो गया, ये काटा यहाँ से ऐसा हो गया. वो सारे एक साथ चल रहे हैं भाई.
बेशक,
हाँ, तो
बेशक.
इसलिए dialectical है ये पूरा.
Yes, I really share this thought with you. I think it's a very composite culture. We are all the same.
Yes.
We are all Indians, primarily. So, okay, getting to another little incident described by you, brought out by you in the book.
Yeah.
हाँ, तो आप बताएं.
नहीं,
यही मैं चाह
हम
रहा था.
नरसिम्हा राव के पास गए, कुछ अपनी शिकायतें लेकर,
जी.
कुछ परेशानियां लेकर. उस डेलीगेशन में बहुत सारे लोग थे, कुछ एमपीज भी थे, ये भी थे. मैं लीड कर रहा था डेलीगेशन. तो नरसिम्हा राव वॉज अ लिंग्विस्ट, और ज़बरदस्त लिंग्विस्ट थे वो.
अच्छा.
तो उन्होंने हमें इम्प्रेस करने के लिए और हमें कंफ्यूज करने के लिए, हमने उनसे कुछ बातें कहीं कि साहब ये ऐसे है. तो बोले, मियाँ आप तो जाहिल आरिफाना से काम ले रहे हैं. अब उन्होंने देखा हमें कि समझे कि नहीं समझे, बड़े उर्दू वाले बनते हैं, समझ में आया. अब अमीन साहब ने मुझे देखा कि क्या कह रहे हैं, हालांकि अमीन साहब,
अच्छा, ये राव साहब ने कही.
ये राव साहब ने कही तो जाहिल आरिफाना से काम ले रहे हैं. तो मेरी तरफ देखा, मैंने कहा अच्छा बेटा नरसिम्हा राव, मैं भी कम नहीं हूँ. मैंने कहा सर, मैंने इमीडिएटली, हालांकि थोड़ा एक सेकंड को मैं रुका, और आई इमीडिएटली ट्रांसलेटेड इनटू परफेक्ट इंग्लिश. आई सेड सर, दिस इज नॉट फेन्ड इग्नोरेंस, दिस इज इग्नोरेंस on your part and my part, and he just, he realized that he is talking to a intelligent person.
Absolutely.
Who is also a linguist.
Cerebral force.
So jahil means ignorance, or arifana is feign, to be दिखावा करना.
दिखावा.
तो मैंने उसका एग्जैक्ट ट्रांसलेशन कर दिया, दिस इज नॉट फेन्ड इग्नोरेंस. So that's what the incident was.
Okay, Chanakya you call him. Yes. So, okay, there's another little incident where, at one point in time when your advice really mattered, the question arose of setting up a multi-commune, force, police force, which could effectively be used for the purposes of quelling riots and all that, especially communal riots.
Rapid Action Police Force.
So it was thought of the Rapid Action Force, RAF.
Yes.
And I think you were the proponent, the proposer of this idea.
I'll tell you what happened. there was a communal riot in Ahmedabad and Baroda, and Rajiv Gandhi was not in power. I think this was in 90 or 91, and Chimman Bhai Patel or somebody was the Makwana I think was the chief minister in. So he asked me and Gadgil Saab to proceed to Ahmedabad and come back and report to him. So I went to Ahmedabad, and there I saw that role of police in the communal riot very clearly, although I have seen it everywhere. I have been to Bhagalpur riot, Mumbai riot, everywhere the PAC and other forces, the role of the police. So I came back and told Rajiv Gandhi, look, the police plays a very, very crucial role in these communal riots, in either allowing the mobs to loot and burn or try to help them. He said, what should we do? Should we form an anti-communal riot police force? I said, no. If you form an anti-communal riot police force, it will have a negative impact. It will be regarded as a police force to protect minorities, which will not be good. At that time, America had formed a group to protect the oil wells in Kuwait, and that was called Rapid Action Force. So,
right.
this word came to my mind, and I said, we must have a police force which is very modern, which is technically savvy, which has all trained in computers, should know which, as soon as they are sent to say Aligarh, they'll just push a button and the whole Aligarh will be before them, how many riots took place, which are the area, which were the mohallas, which were the people involved in the riots in the last 50 years. They will all know that, and this police force will be modern. This will not be, this will have all the religions, and they will be also trained in the sensitivities of all religions.
No, and I would say that though you have used very appropriate English phrases
Yes.
to really on the spot describe
Yes.
the historical phase. So this leads me to ask you, were you always the right man in the wrong party, or at some point of time, Shahid Bhai, you were the wrong man in the right party?
No. I was the right man at the right time in most of the places.
Okay.
Because, and I saw many things from very close quarters when Sanjay died, when, a lot of things I saw from very close quarters. So, and because I was very active, and I was, as a political scientist, I was able to see what is going to happen. So I used to anticipate in my paper as well as in politics. And I used to approach people and tell them that, look, this is going to happen. And therefore, some took my advice rightly, and therefore I became close to a lot of politicians, from Chandrasekhar to Dev Gowda to I.K. Gujral Saab to Atalji and others, because they all thought that whatever I tell them honestly, and I tell them without any biases, and whether they agree with me or not, but they always respected my point of view. And I tell you, when Atalji, after attack on Parliament in 2002, he wanted things to improve, and our armies were standing eyeball to eyeball with Pakistan. He called me to Prime Minister's house, and he said, Shahid Miyan, zara jao Pakistan mein dekh ke aao kya halat hain. तो कुलदीप नैयर मुझसे उन्होंने कहा, हमने कहा साहब अभी तो रास्ते बंद हैं, बॉर्डर बंद हैं, आपने सब कुछ बंद कर रखा है, हम कैसे जाएंगे? अरे बोले आप चले जाओगे, एमपी हो, आपके स्टिकर लगा हुआ है सार्क का, तो जाओ ज़रा देख के आके हमें भी तो बताओ, हमें ये सब जो अफसर हैं उल्टी सीधी बताते हैं, उससे हम मज़ा नहीं आता. तो अटल जी wanted a third view. So when most of the prime ministers, including VP Singh, including Chandrasekhar, including when they wanted an honest third view, they called Shahid Siddiqui. And that's where I went to Pakistan, came back, told Atalji that, look, Atalji, you are extremely popular. Musharraf was the president at that time.
Yes.
I said, Musharraf से लोग नफरत करते हैं, आपसे सब वहाँ पे इज्जत करते हैं, मोहब्बत करते हैं.
पाकिस्तान
हाँ, पाकिस्तान में. And therefore, he said, ये बताओ एक काम ऐसा क्या कर दें कि माहौल बदल जाए. तो मैंने, spurt of the moment, I had not thought about it. I said, Atalji, एक काम कर दीजिए आप, पर होगा नहीं वो, क्योंकि उस वक्त हमारी हाई कमीशन बंद थे, वीज़ा बंद थे, बॉर्डर बंद थे, वाघा बॉर्डर, अटारी बॉर्डर बंद था. तो ऐसे में मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ कि आप बस चला दीजिए श्रीनगर से मुजफ्फराबाद कश्मीर में, माहौल बदल जाएगा. जो ये लोगों को इसकी परेशानी नहीं है कि कश्मीर दो टुकड़े हुआ, परेशानी इसकी है कि लोग मिल नहीं सकते, लोगों के दिल जो टूटे हैं वो जुड़ जाएंगे. तो हमारे यशवंत सिन्हा जी वॉज द फॉरेन मिनिस्टर at that time. He said, Shahid bhai, लगता है बहुत कबाब बिरयानी खिला दी पाकिस्तान में आपको. So कुलदीप नैयर said, अरे वो क्या खिलाएंगे, शाहिद के घर से अच्छी बिरयानी कबाब कहीं नहीं मिलते, वो क्या खिलाएंगे इनको. So we just laughed off, and I thought this will not happen. And because foreign minister is also laughing at it and others are laughing at it, but I was shocked and surprised. After 1 month, Atalji went to Srinagar and announced this bus, and that changed the whole atmosphere, and Musharraf had to come down. Pakistan army lost its credibility in Pakistan because of one action. So the kind of vision Atalji had, that's where I became an admirer of Atalji. You have said that I am admiring two people. Yes, I am admiring because I did not agree with the ideology of Atal Bihari Vajpayee with his politics, but I admire his capability to think out of box, his ability to rise above his own biases and to look at a larger picture and not only of remaining in power for particular reason. And that's why not on just one occasion, many occasions. When Musharraf came to Agra, Atalji invited me for lunch. He said, शाहिद मियाँ ज़रा बताओ क्या बात होगी मुशर्रफ से. मैं हंसने लगा, मैंने कहा मेरी क्या औकात है, मैं आपको बताऊंगा. बोले नहीं, तुम बड़ी काम की बातें बताते हो. तो उन्होंने मेरे से डिस्कस किया, और जब मुशर्रफ केम हियर, ही ऑर्गेनाइज्ड अ लंच इन ताज पैलेस फॉर हिम, and 50 people were invited, and I was one of them, and I went and caught hold of Musharraf and told him कि मुशर्रफ साहब ये गेम खेलना बंद कर दीजिए. हम हिंदुस्तानी मुसलमानों ने बड़ी कीमत चुकाई है आपके सो कॉल्ड पाकिस्तान की. हमारे बच्चों को तो माफ़ कीजिए, आप ये सब गेम खेलना, टेररिज्म बंद करा दीजिए. तो मुशर्रफ नाराज़ हुए, बोले आपकी जिम्मेदारी आपकी सरकार की है, मेरी नहीं है, मुझसे ये मत कहिए. मैंने कहा मेरी जिम्मेदारी दोनों की है, क्योंकि जो एग्रीमेंट हुआ था, उन्होंने एग्रीमेंट किया था कि दोनों तरफ की माइनॉरिटीज़ को प्रोटेक्ट करना हमारी जिम्मेदारी है. तो इसलिए वहाँ ये कहना कि साहब आपकी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है, पाकिस्तान की जिम्मेदारी थी, तो उनको मैंने मुशर्रफ से कहा. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि मैं सही वक्त पे सही जगह पे भी रहा, और जहाँ पे मुझे बोलना था मैं बोला, और जहाँ मुझे कुछ कहना था मैंने कहा, और उसकी मैंने कीमत चुकाई. देखिए, ज़िंदगी में कीमत हर चीज़ की चुकानी पड़ती है. आप अच्छे काम करें, अच्छे काम की भी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी. ईमानदार रहना चाहते हैं, ईमानदारी की कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी. सिर्फ चोरी की कीमत नहीं चुकानी आपको, ईमानदारी की भी चुकानी होती है. तो आपको तैयार रहना चाहिए कीमत चुकाने के लिए, और मैं तैयार रहा हूँ. मेरा एक उसूल है कि मुझे चाहिए बहुत कुछ. मैं नहीं कहता कि मुझे कुछ नहीं चाहिए, मैं तो बड़ा सब नहीं, मुझे चाहिए, मुझे पावर भी चाहिए, मुझे पैसा भी चाहिए, मुझे सब कुछ चाहिए, लेकिन मुझे कुछ भी किसी कीमत पे नहीं चाहिए. मुझे जो कुछ चाहिए मेरी कीमत पे चाहिए. आई विल डिसाइड व्हाट प्राइस आई एम रेडी टू पे फॉर समथिंग. आई वोंट be it won't be acceptable to me to pay any price for anything. I will draw my line, the bottom line, कि मैं इतना झुकूंगा, मैं इतना compromise करूंगा, इसके आगे नहीं करूंगा. And that's where I always stood up in various political parties when I saw that my party or my leader is not going the right way, and I have been telling them inside the party time and again, look, this is not right, this is not right, and they don't listen, and they think that since they are in power, they are there for all ever.
तो एक वो इस पे एक मुझे वो वाकया I kind of recall that नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने आपके बारे में कहा कि शाहिद has paid a heavy price for interviewing me. तो ये मेरे ख्याल से you were if I may use the word, you were thrown out of Samajwadi Party for interviewing Narendra Modi ji.
Modi, absolutely.
So that is one thing.
So that's where he said, and मैंने मोदी जी से कहा कि मोदी जी, मैं I am ready to pay more price for interviewing you, and I'll interview you again. But the question is, are you, आप देश की कुछ सेवा कर रहे हैं कि नहीं? वो आप कर दीजिए, मैं और कीमत चुकाने को तैयार हूँ. तो he started laughing. So the thing is that yes, I have been sometimes, too honest, and but that's how I am.
So are you currently engaged in some societal pursuit?
Yes.
मेरा एक reference है आपके current involvement से, लेकिन मैं चाह रहा हूँ कि आप सिर्फ 2-3 लाइनों में उसे हमें बता दें, क्योंकि वो बहुत बड़ा चैप्टर है आपकी ज़िंदगी में आजकल.
नहीं, मैं दो काम कर रहा हूँ.
2
काम मैं आजकल कर रहा हूँ. एक तो मैं एजुकेशनल वर्क कर रहा हूँ,
जी,
एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाई अलायंस फॉर एजुकेशन इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट ऑफ अंडर प्रिविलेज, आई डू हम उसे शॉर्ट में कहते हैं, जिसमें हम 5-6 लोग हैं, SY कुरैशी, जनरल ज़मीरुद्दीन शाह, मिस्टर सलीम सईद शेरवानी, नजीब जैंग एंड माई सेल्फ। और हम कोशिश ये कर रहे हैं जो अंडर प्रिविलेज हैं उनमें एजुकेशन, मॉडर्न एजुकेशन लाएं, मदरसों का मॉडर्नाइजेशन करें, स्कूलों की क्वालिटी इंप्रूव करें। तो एक अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हमने बनाई है, उसमें हम काम कर रहे हैं, उसमें मैं डिवोट कर रहा हूँ, आई एम द जनरल सेक्रेटरी ऑफ द, वो एक काम है। दूसरा ये है कि नफ़रत का जो आज माहौल है, इस नफ़रत के माहौल को कैसे टेम्परेचर को नीचे लाया जाए, क्योंकि कोई भी हालात बेहतर बनाने के लिए पहले आपको टेम्परेचर को, अगर टेम्परेचर बहुत हाई है तो आप बातचीत नहीं कर सकते। तो पहला काम है टेम्परेचर कैसे नीचे आए। दूसरा काम है कैसे पुल बनाए जाएं, पुल बनते हैं तो फिर आदान प्रदान होता है, या खिड़कियां कैसे खोली जाएं। तो उसके लिए हम लोग जो है, मैं पहले भी मिला हूँ RSS के चीफ से, और मेरा हमेशा उसूल रहा है कि जिससे मेरा असहमति है, द पर्सन आई डिसएग्री विद, I prefer to go and interact with that person. If you are always interacting with people you are agree with, that means you don't learn anything, you don't teach anything, because you are just agreeing with each other and making yourself happy.
dialectics.
Yeah. So there has to be dialectics. You meet those, talk to them, listen to them, those you disagree with, strongly disagree with. And therefore I met Mohan Bhagwat ji, and he was kind enough to meet me in 2007. Then I met him in Nagpur in 2016. And then this group decided that because of the politics of hate right now, we must do something about it. And RSS being the biggest organization of the country, we must speak to them, because this lynching, this cow vigilantes, and this politics of hatred is not good for the nation. Nation will be divided, and therefore we must do something about it. So we wrote to him, and we immediately received a positive response from Sir Sanchalak ji, from Bhagwat ji, and he invited us for a meeting. We had a very nice meeting with him. He raised his issues, we raised our issues कि मुसलमानों को आप इस तरह से कैसे करेंगे, आप उनको, and he agreed कि हम को मुसलमानों को समंदर में तो फेंक नहीं सकते, हमारा हिस्सा है, they are originally Indians, they have come from India, and therefore we accept that. But they said Muslims should stop considering us as kafir, Muslims should stop, calling of jihad, and they should stop killing the cows. We totally agreed. We said, we had our grievances. We said we should stop calling Muslims Pakistani, stop calling them anti-national, stop attacking them in the name of cow slaughter, stop lynching them, stop making a cultural boycott of them, and having these rallies in front of mosques, attacking mosques. So that should also stop, and you must do something about it.
Sure.
So he said that we will come to differences later. First, let's come together where we agree, and let's, because this hatred
Very well
of
said.
many centuries,
Ji.
it will not be over in one meeting. So we must meet again and again. So a group was formed of 4 people from RSS and 5 people from here, and they met. I was one of them, although I have now withdrawn from that group, because I want to focus myself more on social and cultural activities, and I have withdrawn from political parties also. So now I have, the moment I decided to print my memoirs, I thought I'll rise above all differences and work for the
आप जैसी हस्ती तो इतनी मल्टी फैसेटेड हस्ती हैं आप कल्चर के बारे में इतना जानते हैं, खाने के बारे में इतना जानते हैं, हिस्ट्री तो खैर आया, यू हैव टेस्टेड हिस्ट्री डायरेक्टली एंड मॉडर्न कंटेम्प्रेरी इंडियन हिस्ट्री, और आप सारे जोग्राफिया के, इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स, मतलब यू हैव सो मच टू कंट्रीब्यूट टू ब्रिंगिंग पीपल टुगेदर टू नेशन बिल्डिंग, इफ आई मे से। तो ये बहुत ज़रूरी है, एक अहम आपके लिए मेरे ख्याल से एक आगे जाके एक लक्ष्य होना चाहिए, एक मुद्दा होना चाहिए। इन योर लास्ट चैप्टर शाहिद भाई, हर्फ आखिर,
the last word,
you paradoxically quote Marx as having said that the last words are for fools who believe they have not yet said enough. Firstly, this to me is a semantic proposition. For if you remove the word last, you can call it dialectical, and the continuum of change goes on, keeps happening. That is perhaps what you should be looking at. if I may say, as much junior to you, but that's, continuum of change. I trust it is only semantical, because
Yes,
your kind,
yes.
your
What I've
kind
said
of,
is, this is the last chapter of the book, but this is not my last word.
Yes.
Because only fools have a last word. Till I enter my grave, I will have something to say, something to contribute, and something to add.
This-
And therefore, this may be the last word of the book, but not the last word of Shahid. Shahid will go on witnessing and saying things. मैं शाहिद रहूंगा जब तक मैं जिंदा हूँ.
जी, तो यही मेरा मतलब था। शायद जो आपने अब कहा है, मैं आपको इस चीज़ पर लाने वाला था, ये कह के कि आपकी डायलेक्टिकल अप्रोच जो है उसमें हर्फ आखिर नहीं है,
नहीं.
और ना ही उसे होना चाहिए। अच्छा, सेकेंडली यू मेक अ ब्यूटिफुल स्टेटमेंट, few nations possess the enduring spirit and quiet resilience that India so profoundly embodies. So well said. शायद यही रूह है, यही आत्मा है हमारे हिंदुस्तान की, जो हमें प्रोत्साहित करती है, मोटिवेट करती है, हौसला अफजाई करती है हमारी। और आपने जिक्र किया था कि आप एक कस्प ऑफ हिस्ट्री में पैदा हुए थे।
हाँ, 15 अगस्त को पैदा हुआ
जी,
था मैं.
तो कस्प ऑफ हिस्ट्री, लेकिन वो तो एक मोमेंट था
जी.
लेकिन इत्तेफाक की बात है शाहिद भाई कि वो कस्प ऑफ हिस्ट्री आज तक चल रहा है, बहुत लंबा कस्प खींच गया है। तो इस ऑन दिस पॉइंट नाउ एक हर्फ आखिर इस मुलाकात के लिए आपसे हो जाए।
जी, मेरा हर्फ आखिर ये है कि ये कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी, यूनान और मिस्र और रोमा सब मिट गए जहाँ से, कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी। तो ये हिंदुस्तान का कमाल है। ये जो आज नफ़रतें, झगड़े, टकराव हैं, ये सारी चीज़ें वक्ती हैं। मुझे हिंदुस्तान में भरोसा है, एतमाद है, फुल कॉन्फिडेंस इन दिस नेशन, इन द पीपल ऑफ दिस नेशन, एंड आई बिलीव दैट वी विल राइज एंड emerge as one of the finest nations of the world. I'm not saying this because I am born in here, not because I'm an Indian, because as a student of history, I can see that there is no other nation on earth. There is no other nation on earth which is so diverse, which is so full of beautiful cultural milieux, ideological, philosophical. It's not just an incident that some of the great religions were born here. The Buddhists and the Jains and the Sikhs and some of the great poets were born here. So this is a
crucible,
wonderful nation, and it is for the first time in thousands of years it's coming into its own. The only thing is, let's rise above our silly differences and embrace each other, embrace the nation, South and North and Maharashtrian and Bengali, Hindu and Muslims. We all make a wonderful nation. We are the youngest nation in the world. We are will be the most educated. We are the most trained, techno-savvy, and therefore we are going to lead the world. Nobody can stop us. We are going to be the knowledge leader of the world. The only thing is, we must give up our silly, foolish differences and start looking at the past. We should start looking at forward. The future is bright, past is dark. If we live in the past, we will remain in dark for long, long time. If we move forward, then future is calling us, and India is ready for that. That is my last word.
बहुत अच्छे शाहिद भाई, with what a grand, positive, forward-looking thought that we end this dialogue on, and we will look forward to having you again in the studio for Vision and Voices on other matters of great interest to you.
Thank you, Javed Yunus.
Thank you very much
Absolutely.
for
Pleasure,
making
my
it
pleasure.
for this conversation. बहुत आपका शुक्रिया।
My pleasure.